why we should keep the death penalty. You could talk about deterrence. And I had a meeting with the governor wherein we talked about deterrence. And I'm not surprised that she vetoed the bill, but I'm surprised that in her veto message she talked about deterrence, because from that meeting we talked about deterrence and we agreed that the death penalty is not a method of deterring people from committing crimes. And so I'm not shocked about anything except that the governor says that it's going to deter crimes. And the reality is we have to go forward to the people of the state and talk about what really goes on. If we're talking about murders in general, the death penalty cannot be a deterrent for murders in general because the death penalty does not apply to murders in general. If we're talking about those special circumstances, it cannot even be a deterrent to that, because even in those circumstances, prosecutors use the death penalty to get life imprisonment. You're not guaranteed to get the death penalty. And I would say to the governor and to anyone who is paying attention to this that we have a Supreme Court that ruled in 1976 on the death penalty. And they told us how the death penalty statutes must work. And they talked about the statutes, whether or not they are facially constitutional. But more importantly, I would say to you, they talked about how the death penalty must work in practice. And Connecticut's death penalty does not work in practice. It does not apply evenly. And that 2003 report mentioned by the Speaker would bring us a long way towards doing it better if we had a panel of prosecutors who were trained, who understood how to apply the death penalty, and if they worked together so that we didn't have in one jurisdiction a prosecutor deciding for the same case, like Michael Ross's case, that the penalty of death doesn't apply and in another one it does, then we would be doing better, but that doesn't fix the problem. And so I'm happy to be standing here today with Benjamin Jealous from the NAACP, because the NAACP historically has been an organization about justice, and that is what this fight is about. We've talked about justice a lot in the last few days when we've talked about the death penalty. But the reality is, unless this applies to all evenly, then justice is not what this is about. And so I will introduce to you Scott X. Lansdale, who is the president of the NAACP of Connecticut, and he will introduce to you Benjamin Jealous.
Infects the death penalty in the state. And there's no way to make it more fair. I would urge all of you to watch what she does with her powers to commute sentences. She says that she's committed to making it more fair. Well, if she's going to make it more fair, she needs to do that retroactively to the men who will be killed because of place and race, women be killed because of place and race, and not just talk about let's put in place a report that frankly her administration should have put in place already. But she also has to be honest with the people of Connecticut. Spend millions of dollars killing the killers that you've already caught, when you can catch more killers. Repeat that. You spend millions of dollars killing the killers that you've already caught. Because when you prosecute somebody for the death penalty, you got hundreds of thousands of more dollars at the local level, at the county level. And those are dollars that don't go to the homicide unit. It used to be that moderate New England Republicans believed in basic fairness, believed in fiscal prudence. She apparently does not have the courage to practice either. She took some umbrage when I compared her state to Texas. I told her it's a little colder here, but the numbers don't lie. And we will keep putting pressure on Governor Rell. We will keep supporting President Lansdale and Speaker Donovan and getting greater bad today, apparently Representative Winfield Holder and Representative Rell, until the death penalty is abolished in the state. In this country, nothing less than justice is acceptable, nothing less than fairness is acceptable, and when a state decides that it wants to spend millions of dollars to kill people who can keep behind bars for the rest of their lives if they want to, rather than doing right by the other victims' families who live in jurisdictions that don't have enough dollars for their homicide units to get killers off the street, something is very wrong in the state. Thank you, Governor.